It's time for another blistering report from the front lines of the cultural war for a constitutional America. And now, here's your host, Charles Benninghoff.
Okay, we got a great subject. Tell me what you think of this. Republicans in Congress are holding town hall meetings in their home districts. Huge crowds of obviously agitated people are showing up and yelling. They're yelling at the Republican congressional members. These protesting Americans are voicing their hatred for the racist and extremist agenda of Donald Trump. And they're claiming that Trump stole the election with the help of the Russian hackers. These protesters are especially angry at Republicans for their efforts to attempt to repeal the cherished American institution of Obamacare. Then, when a member of Congress tries to explain the GOP position, the protesters rise up and a mob action begins, forcing the GOP member to escape the town hall meeting in a great hurry under the protection of his armed guards, hoping he has some. Does anything sound fishy to you about that? Well, anything at all? Republicans showing up at a GOP congressional member's town hall meeting and protesting the very thing for which the President Trump was elected? Sounds fishy to me. So let's look closer at what the real dynamics are of this situation. Here's the truth and what's really happening, and it is a bombshell, folks. Barack Obama has set up a shadow government. And that's a term that comes from England, where there is a government that is in operation and a minority party and lost the last election, and they call it the shadow government because while it doesn't have any power, it tries to operate in the shadows. But Obama is setting up a shadow government of the same type, but he's using a IRS entity called a 501c4, and he's calling that 501c4 Organizing for Action. This 501c4 organization is a tax-exempt corporation authorized by the IRS to collect money and offer tax deductions to the donors. Obama's Organizing for Action entity is now paying agitators to protest the America First movement because America First is a total rejection of Obama's globalist worldview, a view where there is no nation, no border, and every living thing in the world will be governed by the United Nations, and he hopes he's going to be the head of the United Nations. Today, I'll explain why Obama's shadow government is a major threat to your freedom and your constitutional rights. If you care about the future of America, you need to watch this video, and I hope you'll also subscribe to my channel because I'm out here every day working to educate you Americans of all the political stripes about the dangers we collectively face. So my videos are not just directed towards conservatives. I direct them to all Americans, hoping that every one of them, despite the stripe that they have, will pay attention and dummy up. I'll let you know how you can be an action hero at the end of this presentation and help us shut down Obama's shadow army today. Please watch this video clip of Republican Congressman Tom McClintock when he had to flee his own town hall meeting after police told him to run for it because of unruly Nazi-like demonstrators. Take a look. Don't be surprised. Trust me, those are not Republicans protesting the repeal of Obamacare. They're paid agitators. They could be well paid for by Obama and his buddy Soros. But let's back up a bit and talk about how former presidents have traditionally behaved in America. Throughout history, presidents have, for the most part, just gone away quietly when their time in office is up, and they don't criticize their predecessors. That's the unwritten rule. You never criticize the predecessors, and you don't criticize the successors. George W. Bush, for example, left office in 2009, and we've hardly heard a word from him since then. Well, he shows up once in a while, a big eating grin, but he doesn't do much and he doesn't say much. But because Barack Obama is a dyed-in-the-world globalist and is not an American because he does not respect our Constitution. He doesn't give a rip about American traditions. Obama has always been an arrogant, self-entitled SOB. And remember, this is the guy who referred to himself 63 times when he spoke at the funeral of Senator Daniel Inouye in 2012. So the speech he had about Inouye and the death of Daniel Inouye and all the accomplishments that Daniel Inouye made during his lifetime as a Japanese American from Hawaii, and all the civil rights and the things that he championed, they didn't matter a bit. It was Obama talking about himself 63 times. That's what we have to contend with. And in fact, we all know Obama's not a humble man. Obama is reportedly outraged that America has rejected his totalitarian progressive agenda by electing President Trump. So, to protect his legacy, Obama took his political action committee that was formerly known as Organizing for America and switched it from a registered political action committee over to a tax-exempt 501c4 organization, which now means he doesn't have to publicly disclose who's giving him money, like maybe George Soros. The machinery of Obama's 2012 campaign committee is now known as Organizing for Action, and the name has changed slightly, but the syndicate, indeed the Obama crime family members and the objectives, remain exactly the same. Instead of quietly going away, Obama has rented an 8-bedroom mansion just 2 miles away from the White House, from which he's directing O4A, Organizing for Action. And here's where it gets really interesting. According to the New York Post, Obama's Organizing for Action group is partnered with another group called Indivisible. And you know what? I can absolutely confirm today that Indivisible founder is a person named Angel Padilla, who is a member of the radical Mexican supremacist group known as La Raza. You know, if any white person or black person or practically anybody else besides the Hispanics had called their organization La Raza, which means the race, we'd be held up in ridicule. But for some reason, Hispanics can get away with it. How you like that? Mr. Padilla, as does Obama, also receives funding directly from George Soros' Open Society Foundation. And according to the New York Post, Indivisible is providing training manuals to Obama's group, and from those manuals, Obama's private army is learning how to disrupt a Republican town hall meetings. First, they go in quietly as a group, so they don't spook the police right away. Maybe I used the wrong term there. I'm sorry. That's not very politically correct, but it's sort of apropos. They are then taught to split up in pairs and spread out through the venue to make it appear as if the opposition is widespread. These paid agitators are urged to ask hostile questions and to loudly boo the GOP politicians if they give a conservative-sounding answer to any one of their questions. They are also told to approach the hotels, the meeting places, the city halls, and similar locations that host the town hall meetings and accuse the owner or operator, for example, a chain of hotels or the management of a city, of promoting Trump's racism. They want to deny GOP members of Congress a venue to speak from, and they want to give an impression that there's a widespread opposition by repeating one thing over and over again. That is, Obamacare cannot be repealed, and other Obama legacy platforms are sacred. Protesters in Washington, D.C. last week injured a 71-year-old staff member of Congressman Dina Rohrabacher, a Republican from California, a true conservative hero. Obama's paid agitators also reportedly knocked a 2-year-old child to the ground at Congressman Rohrabacher's gathering. If you think back to when President Trump announced his immigration protection order, blocking visas from 7 terrorism-sponsoring countries, protesters showed up at airports all across the country. How did that happen? It was like they were all sitting at the gates just getting ready to hear the word. It was not spontaneous. Obama turns on the switch and his automatons go to work and they invade your local airport. Americans didn't turn out in droves to try to protect pirates from Somalia. war criminals from Sudan, and ISIS terrorists from Syria, which are the types of immigrant visas that Trump administration blocked. These airport protests were organized by Obama's shadow government, and the leaders of those groups were all paid agitators. I'm sure that a few of the protesters were garden variety Democrats who make up the party's base, but many, if not most of those, were incited to be there and trained by this Obama shadow government organizing for action, or I like to call it O4A. Well, why is this a problem, you might ask? For one thing, it has a chilling effect on freedom of speech. How would you like to go to a town hall meeting and speak up and try to get your local congressman who's a Republican to do one thing or the other if you know you're liable to be attacked by a bunch of O4A agitators? Well, that's a real censure on our freedom of speech. And a lot of people will now be afraid to attend those town hall meetings with their members of Congress because they don't know whether these violent professional agitators are going to start a riot or not. These people are violating your constitutional right to assemble and to listen and to engage with your representative or senator. Obama's paid agitators are depriving you of your constitutional rights, and that is how we are going to fight back against them. They can't do that. Here's what the federal law states in 18 United States Code, Section 241, Conspiracy Against Rights. And I quote, "If two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his having so exercised the same, or if two or more persons go in disguise on the highway or on the premises of another with intent to prevent or hinder his free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege so secured, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both." And I end quote. That's how we're going to do it, because this is not right. It's not right that these O4A agitators are trying to intimidate our freedom of speech. Remember, the mass protesters in Berkeley did this. They're the ones who rioted a couple of weeks ago. That sort of conduct can certainly reach the level necessary to be a felony. Each and every one of those protesters and agitators, paid for and funded by Obama's O4A, can be guilty of a crime that's punishable up to 10 years in the slammer. All they got to do is just deny the civil rights of people who are trying to exercise them. Obama's O4A group, in my personal opinion, borders on being a criminal organization also, and this is under 18 U.S.C. 241. And I believe that O4A is an impermissible organization under IRS rules and should be shut down. We're going to do some more research on this and come out with as many more details as we can. We have to keep Congress informed of these issues. They don't know what's going on. We are the only avenue, the people of this country, who can tell them what's going on and demand that they take action. Well, you can take action as well by going to our action page today and sending personalized letters to Congress, starting with the House Oversight Committee. Your personal letters will help in two ways. First, the GOP members of Congress, as I said, might not know this is happening. We need to tell them about it. And second, they need to know that the patriots who support the America First agenda outnumber Obama's paid agitators. No conservative supports Obamacare in place, and no conservative believes that the Trump agenda is racist. We outnumber these globalist Democrat losers, but if we want to protect our country for them, we need to be louder than they are. We need to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, and that's why your help is needed. Bob Mallory has instructions on the next page that will let you know how to get to our action page and be an action hero. Go there, take action against Obama's shadow government, and do it today. This is Charles Benninghoff signing off and wishing you freedom, fulfillment, and God's many blessings.
If you're on our action page on our website, use the form next to the video screen to select a program and send personal letters to Congress. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the icon appearing now to find the link to our action page, or check the video's description to find the link. Speak out today.